Welcome to myself, Julie Howard. I'm Director of Employment and Training at Walsall Housing Group, and my colleague Emma Wright, who is actually the Clickstart Project Manager. So as Francis said, we're going to take you through now a presentation which is all about our exciting new programme called Clickstart, which is for 3 years. I'll just give you, if you move to the next slide, Francis, I'll just give you a bit of an overview about Walsall Housing Group for those listeners who aren't familiar with Walsall Housing Group. We were established in 2003. We were a large voluntary stock transfer. We're predominantly, most of our housing stock is located in Walsall, in the Black Country in the West Midlands, but we have got quite an ambitious growth programme, and we aim to be around 30,000 properties by 2024. So we're currently working in about 9 local authority areas where we're developing our housing stock, whether that's through acquisitions or whether it's through new developments. So as the slide says, we've invested an awful lot really in our homes over the last 13 years that we've been running. We've got a whole range of core housing service that you would expect with a registered housing provider, but we've always had a commitment around delivering employment and training services for our customers, because we really feel that, you know, it's about supporting customers to make differences to their lives, which we know will make them happier and more prosperous tenants for us as a business. So if we can move to the next slide.
So we wanted to set the scene really for why Clickstart was important. So as everyone knows, there's been additional pressures on housing associations over the last few years. So there's been the 1% rent cut over a number of years, which impacts on the extra services that we wanted to provide. There's been welfare reform happening as well, as you know. So as Francis said, the movement of housing benefit from direct payments to housing associations to the tenants themselves has an impact on payments and their tenancy sustainability. So we needed to really instill behaviour change with our customers and help them navigate this new way of receiving their benefits. We've developed more cost-effective ways of providing services to our tenants as well, because we've had to, because there's less funding around. And we know from our research that there's limited access to home computers by our tenants. So they use smartphones, but that's really difficult to apply for jobs and search for jobs on those. Now, all of this is being tackled by channel shift that Julie will talk about now.
Yeah, I think the key driving a lot of this for housing providers is, you know, the focus about how we can deliver more cost-effective services. So for us as an organisation, we have a big drive around channel shift and looking at how we can locate more of our services online. I mean, recently we've closed, due to the 1% budget cut, we've had to close our local offices. So we're really starting to focus down accessing more of our services online. But we understand that that in itself can be a challenge for our customers who don't have the skills or confidence or the connectivity to do that. So Clickstart was an ideal model to help us as an organisation deliver some of the solutions that we know we need to deliver as part of our channel shift agenda. So if we can move to the next slide. So just to give you an overview of building better opportunities, as Francis referred to, it's a jointly funded programme through European Social Fund, matched with funding by the big lottery funding. So it's 100% funded. So for us as a business, we're getting £3.9 million worth of additional funding into the business to deliver this programme, which again meets some of our key business objectives. The priorities that Emma will come on to were chosen by the local enterprise partnerships, so they were very much key in deciding and developing those local priority themes. But the overall focus is very much about tackling poverty, promoting social inclusion and driving local jobs and growth. And we really feel that digital inclusion is part of the new poverty, because we feel that if people can't don't have their skills to access any of the online services, look for a job, apply for their benefits online, or look at how they can actually save money by going on money-saving websites. They really become even more disadvantaged. So the big focus is around tackling poverty and moving people closer to the job market. The programme, it's a national programme, it's had 175 million invested across the UK, and for the Black Country, which is Sandwell, Walsall, Wolverhampton and Dudley, we have 23.7 million coming in to support building better opportunities, and we'll go into the themes of the programme in the next slide.
So the themes that the LEP set were family poverty, including troubled families. So that's looking at, we've gone on to the further slide. If we could go back one slide, sorry. If we could look at, so the LEP themes were to employment. A targeted community approach is looking at some of the most deprived areas within the Black Country and tackling social inclusion as well as the barriers to employment. Employment for support for over 24s is fairly self-explanatory, and then it's our strand, the financial and digital inclusion, because even financial exclusion was seen as a barrier for some people for getting into work. On the next slide, we talk about the process for how we came to run the programme. So I think it was about May 2015, the LEP did a process where organisations could apply to be the lead partner of one of the 4 strands. And the LEP chose 5 organisations, so Heart of England Community Foundation, Black Country Together, Steps to Work, and then it said that Accord, Housing and WHG should jointly run a theme together, and we're still doing that. A few weeks later, the lottery told the LEP that actually this was against competition rules and we'd need to apply with everybody else. So we decided to work together and apply for those same themes as the LEP had chosen. During July and August, we had a competitive process to choose our delivery partners, and then we applied to stage 1, which was a deadline in August. In December, we heard that all 5 of us had got through. We didn't have any competition from anybody else as well, so we knew that we had a good chance of getting the money, but we still obviously had to work for it. We received a development grant as well to help develop our consortium. And then in July 16, we heard we were successful.
And I think one of the reasons the lottery actually commissioned a programme like this is that if you look at this 23.7 million for the Black Country, if they'd have commissioned that programme completely on its own without breaking it down into the different theme areas, it could have gone to a large national organisation, and really the LEP were very, very committed to looking at how local organisations really benefited from this source of funding that was coming in to support these key priorities. So although it was a bit of a shaky start in terms of that initial process with the LEP, it really put us in a good stead to have the confidence and the support from the LEP behind us to go through that national competitive process, and it already started to formulate the partnership in the Black Country in delivering building better opportunities. So it was a bit of a shaky start, but in some ways it made us much stronger, and clearly, we were successful in securing the funding. So if we can now move to the next slide, Francis. So just talking about the partnership with Accord Housing Group. At the local process with the LEP, way back in 2015, WHG and Accord actually bid separately for some of the themes of the funding, and the LEP felt that both of our bids were very, very strong and actually pulled us together and said, we really want you as organisations to be looking to deliver this kind of work. So we went away and said, there's no reason why we can't work together as a partnership. We've got a common agenda. This common purpose has brought us together. As housing providers, there's no competition at the end of the day. our ultimate goal is to move customers closer to the labour market, because we know it benefits them as individuals, but us as a business as well. So we really looked at our organisations, we looked at our geography of housing stock within the Black Country, because clearly we wanted to put together a strong business case to the lottery around what we could deliver through this programme. And I think both organisations have got a really good, strong record in delivering employment-related services. Accord was very much focused around sort of social enterprise, social investment, and WHG's was very much around innovative engagement and looking at how we engage customers through a model that we've developed called Community Champions. So we worked together in terms of putting that partnership together. It's embodied through a deed of support, so it's a legal partnership. So although WHG is named as the accountable body on the contract to the lottery, clearly it is a joint programme between WHG and Accord, so we share risks, liabilities and celebrate the successes together. So that was really the background into how the partnership evolved with WHG and Accord. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So in terms of our model for Clickstart, I mean, what I would say with the Clickstart, with the overall Building Better Opportunities programme, it's not a high volume programme. So when we had the original specification from the lottery, we were sort of pleasantly surprised that we're not talking about massive volumes of participants going through this programme and really unachievable sort of outcomes and results. So it was really good to see what the spec was from the lottery and work together in developing our model. So the focus is very much around delivering financial and digital inclusion to social housing customers. And clearly that's who we're housing. So as two organisations, we have a high presence of those customers across the Black Country. We have a target of supporting around 3,000 customers over 3 years. So that's 1,000 customers per year. If you look at it from a local authority area, we've got 4 local authorities, so that's around 250 customers per local authority area within the Black Country. But what we put in our business plan is that we would very much focus our delivery around a targeted approach using our joint customer insight, our tenancy data, to look at those customers are really becoming more and more disadvantaged, whether that's falling more into arrears or whether that's not looking at accessing the services that we have online at the moment and using those services. So that was very much the approach in terms of demonstrating through our business plan how we would actively target these customers. And I think the other thing to say is around the engagement of these customers, looking at different innovative techniques. I mean, we all know there are a plethora of programs out there which is around supporting people into employment, but the key is how do you stop those customers going round the vicious circle of programs and not going anywhere. So we were quite keen, wanted to make sure that we had the right engagement techniques, so we put in place what we're calling community coaches, which is local people, hopefully local customers who will work in their communities, engaging customers in sort of fun, friendly activities which aren't obvious around employment and training support, but clearly takes them along a journey of moving them closer to the labour market. So if we can move on to the next slide.
So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the money that's coming into the region and how it's split. So as Julie said, we've got 23.7 million for the region. I think it's one of the largest regions out of the 45 across the UK in terms of money. Family Matters have 3.4 million and they have approximately 19 partners. With Clickstart, we have 3.88 million. We only have 10 partners, one still that we need to procure. And we made a conscious decision to limit the amount of partners because otherwise it gets quite unmanageable. Decisions are quite difficult when there's more than about 10. So we were lucky in a way that it was one of the smaller pots, so we could justify that approach. Community Matters is just over 5 million, and they have approximately 22 partners. And Bridges programme, which is the employment for over 24s, they have 11 million and approximately 26 partners. So some partners are shared across the different strands, and we have approximately about 52 partners across all of it.
And I think the other thing to say is, out of those delivery partners across all of the strands, there are some delivery partners that are actually delivering within each of the strands. So for Walsall Housing Group and Accord, we are the accountable body, so we have the responsibility for the 3.88 million of Click Start. But we're also delivery partners in the other strands. So we actually went through a competitive process and bid through the other strands, sort of procurement, to actually deliver activities through Bridges and Family Matters. So we've got two hats on a lot of the time in terms of making sure that we're delivering our overall Click Start programme, but we're also part of the process in terms of delivering activities within those other strands. So we've secured quite a lot of money. When I say quite a lot of money, you know, significant amount of money, which will actually supplement the employment and training teams costs within our organisation. And clearly, there's been a big benefit around that. If you look at sort of the drive recently around sort of cutting non-core services, so this funding came around at a really ideal time for us because it allowed us to really pull in that funding and support what we were intending to deliver anyway as an employment and training service.
And we tried to keep the people working on the different strands as separate as possible, so it's otherwise it gets too complicated. But there are certain delivery partners who are working across more than one strand, where people, the same person is working across more than one strand. So that's a challenge we need to manage as we go along. In terms of the 4 strands working together, if we go to the next slide, then we all agreed to carry on working collaboratively, I can't even say it, because we recognise that we might get the same participants coming onto more than one strand or all 4 strands. So we've agreed to, where possible, share the same paperwork. So the lottery has set forms that we need to fill in per participant, but then reporting on outcomes and the other sort of performance measures that we also needed to do, we've had to develop our own paperwork, so we've kept it as consistent as possible. We've got a shared MIS database, so there is an ESF rule where outputs, which are the number of people registered on the programme, and results, which will be the next slide, which Julie will talk to you, which is the progression into job search, etc. They can't be shared. So if we refer a client to another partner, that other partner or strand can't claim the registration of that person, but if they get them into job search, then we can. So it was getting quite complicated, and we need a shared MIS system. The other reason we did that as well is because we wanted to ensure as smooth a pathway as possible for the participant, and we didn't want to keep repeating the questions and ask for the same evidence time and time again, so it should be of benefit to the participants as well. We've got systems of governance, performance management and auditing. Of course, we'll have our own auditing procedures per organisation, but we're trying to look at the programme as a whole and share best practice and ways of working. And we're going to do a shared evaluation overall to show the impact in the Black Country as well as the individual strands evaluation.
And I think the other thing to say is we're also working with the LEP because we're quite keen to do an evaluation to show the impact of all funding that's coming into the Black Country over the next three years, whether this is through building better opportunities, whether it's through Youth Employment Initiative, which is another significant programme which is about moving people into work, or whether it's about Talent Match or the new work programme going ahead, the new health and work programme. So we're really sort of lobbying the LEP to say, right, let's look at the lessons and the impact of all this funding that's coming into this region, this sub-region, over the next 3 years, to really see what's made a difference in moving people into work. And we're quite keen to push that. So just moving on to the next slide, I do notice from our slide that actually the figures in the completing job search are missing. I don't know why that is, but I'll touch on them anyway. So these are the results that all 4 strands will need to achieve as part of their contract. And this is what we actually specified in our business plan. So initially the lottery sent out a specification in terms of what their expectations were around results, and then obviously we had to make a bid in terms of what we thought we could achieve. So there is actually, it's not obvious from this slide, but if you look at the first line, completing job search, Bridges have actually are actually contracted to deliver 30% of their results into participants completing job search, whereas the other programmes, Family Matters, Kickstart and Community Matters, have gone with 27%, which was originally the lottery's guidance around achieving results. So it just shows really the correlation between the strands, the expectations, and I think, as Emma touched on, as a partnership, as the Building Better Opportunities partnership, the challenge will be for the organisations in terms of how we achieve those results, because we are likely to have a number of participants who are benefiting from the different strands of the programme. So we can't double count, we can't double claim the results. You know, if we're delivering an activity that moves somebody into training, but they then move on to the Family Matters or Community Matters programme, in essence, we could lose that result because the next programme could claim a final result for them. So there are some intricacies around the programme delivery that we're managing as a partnership to make sure that we are all successful. And even looking at that triage at the start in terms of that initial assessment of what the customer's needs are, so that we are cross-referring to the different strands as well as partners. And then alongside that, outside of Building Better Opportunities, we have actually met with the other funders and accountable bodies for Youth Employment Initiative, which is being led by the local authorities in the Black Country, because there are concerns that we have, as I said, a plethora of funding, and actually, we all want to make sure that we deliver against these contracts, but we also provide a seamless and coherent service for the customer at the end of the day. They're not interested where the funding is coming from. They just want to move closer to the labour market or move into work. So that just gives an overview really of the results. Just moving on to the partners, and I'll just touch on this.
Yeah, I'll just talk you through some of the key partners. So obviously we have a housing tenancy focus, and there are 6 housing associations involved. So obviously WHG and Accord, but we've also got Trident, Ashley Community Housing, who specialise in supporting refugees and asylum seekers, Wolverhampton Homes, and then the Sandwell Financial Services Hub. That's actually run by Black Country Housing Group. And the Sandwell Financial Services Hub is one of the Improving Financial Confidence programmes that the lottery funded, which started a few years ago. Groundwork, most people know as an environmental charity, but they have a specialism, especially Groundwork West Midlands, have a specialism around training. Remfoy support people with disabilities. And then we've got representation from the Citizens Advice. Again, I can't say that. We have contracted with Sandwell Citizens Advice, but they're working closely with the other 3 boroughs as well. And then we have a 10th partner that we need to procure, and the procurement will start in the next couple of weeks.
And I think the other thing to say, when we had the procurement exercise, it was quite a fragile time of the housing sector, because it was sort of the summer of 2015, and we'd all obviously been hit with our 1% rent cut. So actually, the amount of housing providers coming forward at the time was lower than we expected. So we have got some housing providers who we know have got quite a significant presence in the Black Country that will be working with. They didn't want to be delivery partners. They didn't want to be contracted into delivering employment outcomes under this programme. But clearly what we will do is to work with them so that they can refer their clients onto this programme, so that they will benefit from this service, but they won't be a delivery partner. But really the focus is very much about housing providers being the delivery partners across the Black Country for this programme.
So these are the broad aims of the programme, and I will hurry up because I realise we want time for questions. So increase skills and confidence to use the internet, so people don't feel that confident using the internet, and also staying safe online is a key issue that we'll look at as well. Increase skills and ability to manage and save money, so that could be getting financial advice, it could be online budgeting tools, it could be saving money by shopping or paying your bills online. The ability to communicate and connect with others, so just sending an email or looking up social media is kind of a fun way of getting people involved in that. And improved access to employment, training and volunteering opportunities, so that's obviously searching and applying for jobs all online. All of these are transferable skills that people can take into their jobs.
So if we can move on to the next slide. I mean, this slide really just shows what we call the roadmap in terms of securing a home, because clearly Clickstart is about helping our customers sustain their tenancies and be happier, healthier, more connected customers. So really, this is just a visual diagram which shows sort of the relationship between the pre-tenancy support. We have a tenancy sustainment programme called My Home, My World. And, in terms of the referral across the services, what we're starting to get now is an awful lot of referrals from services within the business, whether that's pre-tenancy, whether that's people ringing our contact centre, whether it's people through our income collection team that are being supported to pay their rent. We're getting an awful lot of referrals now to the employment and training team within Walsall Housing Group to start joining people onto the Clickstart programme.
In terms of levels of support that we'll offer, we feel that there's 3 levels really. The first level is induction and stabilisation, so there might be key barriers that are stopping people getting into work, and it could be that we could address those barriers. Then we'll give some basic financial and digital support, so that could be knowing the difference between essential and non-essential spending, or staying in touch via email. And then there's enhanced financial and digital support, so if people are ready they can move on to the 3rd level, and that could be prioritising their debts, buying or selling goods online, and creating text documents such as the CV. And we deliver this in a number of ways, which is on the next slide. So it would be group work and one-to-one support sessions. We want to go into the home because travelling sometimes can be a barrier in people accessing these kind of services. We're going to do a peer-to-peer support programme, but we see engagement as one of the key issues in a programme like this. So we're going to use gamification techniques, so you can see deal or no deal on the slide there. Using quiz shows or reality TV really kind of helps people engage. And we take the approach of seeing it as a social activity first of all. If we go and talk to people going, do you want to come on a programme that will help you manage your finances, then that doesn't sound very enticing and it can be a bit intimidating for people. So we take the very soft approach with engagement of getting people to socialise and have fun, and then we sort of bring in the financial and digital elements almost by the back door really.
I think those pictures just give a bit of an overview of some of the initiatives that we've delivered as a team that we will be delivering through Clickstart.